I'm Cherie.
And I'm Chris.
We're Technomadia, and a little over a year ago we purchased a 2016 Travato GL.
I wish it was a GL.
Oh darn, we should start over.
Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up, come my way, and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story, and I can feel it coming, like the rising of the sun.
A little over a year ago, we purchased Copernicus, our Winnebago Travato G. It is a 2016 model, and we purchased it after deciding that we wanted to replace our Mini Cooper with something that we could have both as a daily driver and a camper van. Now, we also know we have a boat that we spend part of our year on, and we have a motorhome, a vintage bus, and we wanted something that could be a daily driver as well as the shuttlecraft for getting between those two, and the thing that we use to go do little side trips on.
So in the past year and a quarter, we've actually spent probably between 5 and 6 months worth of nights actually sleeping in this Travato. And traveling, as well as using it for daily errands and stuff. And overall, there's a lot that we really, really love about this design. Winnebago did an incredible job designing the G as far as we're concerned. But there are some things that we consider design flaws. And that's what we're going to focus on in today's video. These are the things that we're like, some of them are just little nitpicky details. Some of them are, what were they thinking? Why did they do it this way? And some of them were just the typical RV industry focusing on cost over actual quality. Even if just a little bit more investment in quality would go a long way to making some things better. Now, the first set of design flaws aren't really in Winnebago's control. These are with the Ram ProMaster chassis that Winnebago builds on, so they don't have a ton of control. For example, the built-in default navigation system is laughably bad. It would have been bad 10 years ago, and one of the first things we recommend anybody who has a ProMaster does is replace this with something that has CarPlay or Android Auto or something, so you at least have real better navigation. Another thing is the ProMaster seems to be years behind on offering all the standard basic safety features like blind spot detection or adaptive cruise control or some of those things like that. We've heard that the 2021 ProMasters have the option for blind spot detection at least, but still no lane keeping or adaptive cruise control. We're hoping in the future Winnebago will embrace those safety features, and maybe Ram will finally get around to doing some of the more advanced stuff down the road as well. And then, well, there's the suspension. The ProMaster, once it's loaded down and turned into a Travato, drives kind of like a boat, but not the good kind of boat that's comfortable and nice, but the kind of bouncing around and shaking around boat in wake state. And one of the first things we did was replaced or augmented the suspension with Sumo shocks, Sumo springs, which makes for a much better ride, much safer feeling ride. And that is something apparently Winnebago also got so much feedback on that they're now making that a standard feature in the 2020.5 version of the Travato onward, so users don't have to go out and rush out and do that upgrade.
Okay, climate control. Now, it's a 21-foot van. It shouldn't be this difficult. Now, the air conditioner, my first complaint is the air conditioner's in the rear. I don't know why. There's plenty of space to my eye. Maybe there's a engineering reason why, but it seems like the air conditioner should be in the center of the coach, and that would allow both vents to go out both ways, cooling the front and the back, giving it equal cooling ability. Instead, it's in the back, which means while you're sleeping, you've got one of the rear vents going right on the door, right down onto your head, and then this one's coming out and it only really cools to about right here, is really as far as you feel that cool air on a hot day like today. Now, there is a modification that people have done with this one. There's a new cover that puts the air going straight down onto the bed instead, so that is an option. I don't know that that's actually our major complaint with it. Our major complaint is we would prefer the air conditioner to be middle of the coach, and then have some sort of vent for the stove area differently in a different area. That seems a lot more efficient to us. Also, our cover here, it's broken. So, one of the ways you can mitigate some of this is closing the back vent and pushing all the air forward. Well, ours, we have to use tape to even keep it closed because it just doesn't work. And that's really super annoying because the condensation gets there and removes the tape. Now, the other thing that Chris doesn't like is that we love the Truma Combi. It is the best heating system we have ever had in any RV that we've ever owned. It's quiet, it's efficient, it is just a pure pleasure. But the vent they put underneath the refrigerator. And Chris says he doesn't like that because the heat comes up right into the refrigerator, which is to be cooling things. I feel it heats the van just fine. It's center of the coach, where you want your climate control, so it heats the whole coach.
It could have been right over there by the speaker instead of the fish. Yeah, would have made more sense.
Okay.
Just see how loud this is.
I hate I hate these knobs. So in the newer Travatos, there's actually a upgraded NDQ model of the Coleman that is supposed to be significantly less loud, which is a major plus, and a lot of people go and purchase them and retrofit. Fortunately, due to the increase in RV stuff, they are back ordered for months, so there's no hope for us getting one on this coach. And there's also another one from Australia that Advanced RV sells. I think it's the Houghton, I haven't heard it pronounced. That's even quieter and higher quality, but that's like a $2,500 upgrade as well. It just seems to me that it'd be a lot better to have a quieter AC built in, standard.
So next up on design flaws or things they kind of overlooked is just designing the kitchen here. The sink looks nice, stylish and round, but this tiny little faucet is just awful to use. Try washing actual real dishes in this tiny sink. Something less stylish and more utilitarian would have been great. At least it's nice and flat when you close the lid. The stove is actually a pretty decent stove, but it would have been nice if they actually had induction. We prefer cooking with electricity to gas. But speaking of the stove, one thing that makes no sense, look where the smoke detector is, right here over where you're cooking. Couldn't it be in a worse place? There's anywhere else inside the van, the smoke detector would have been better off. Working our way around here. This was normally actually set up as a hanging closet, and it makes all the sense in the world to have this be a pantry. And for some people who really would rather have a hanging closet, you could just make the pantry. Winnebago should put in shelves by default and then have them be removable with a bar setup, because it's a lot easier to take shelves out than it is to have to retrofit them in. And that was one of the first upgrades we did, because really, who needs a big hanging closet? You need pantry space in a small van. And now over here to the fridge, which is our nemesis. We kind of hate this fridge. It's a nice size, but well, when it's running off of gas, you have to hit this button about 600 times. Actually, sometimes literally 100 times before it'll effectively light. When the wind blows a certain way, the gas will go out, so you have to always keep monitoring it to see if you're still staying cold. And, well, it's just not well designed and well built. We just discovered that the fridge door broke off because it's got little cheap pivots made of cheap plastic. So they really could have done a much, much better job with the fridge. Again, this is a Dometic product. It's not Winnebago's control, but they should really be pushing more for higher quality appliances inside of RVs.
And the freezer is too frickin' small.
Oh yeah, and this freezer is way too small. And no, it's not keeping frozen at the moment too. So
oh, great.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dometic.
They could do so much better. Please listen to this.
So the bathroom really is well designed. Yes, it's narrow, but it's extremely functional. No complaints about the layout of the bathroom, really. But there's a couple little points on it that could be improved. First, there's this long mirror here above the sink that's really hard to actually see yourself in. Like, I don't even know, when I'm in the van, I have no idea of checking my hair. And, that's kind of a trivial thing to complain about, but we do a lot of video work. I kind of want to make sure I look decent on camera. So it's really hard to get ready to do a shoot when we're in the van. The lighting in the bathroom really sucks. One light, it's behind you. So when you're looking in the mirror, you got the light behind you, and that just creates weird halos. We got around that. We did a makeup mirror that's light up. I bought this on Amazon. That helps a lot, at least with getting light in front of your face. Chris can use that to shave, that sort of stuff. It's also not an LED light. It's like one of the only lights in the entire coach that's not LED, so it burns hot. It drains the battery when you're off grid. It just could have been a lot better done. The cabinet doors on here, they're just cheap plastic. They fall off the track all the time. Those could have been a little nicer, I believe. And I've seen some people solve the mirror problem by replacing those with sliding mirrors. That might be something we do in the future, Chris, right?
Yep.
Now, the biggest complaint that a lot of people have on the Winnebago G series is the way the shower works. Now, it has a sump pump, basically, because you can't do gravity drainage on this. The holding tank is equal or higher than where the drain is at. You have to actually pump the water out of the basin. Now, as boaters, we're used to that. That is not the issue at all for us. The issue is the pump that they selected in here was not really designed for this sort of use, and it clogs up. About every 2 to 3 showers, you have to go and clean the screen within the pump, or else it just quits being able to pump the water out. And that's a little bit of a chore because it's underneath and you have to disassemble everything under the sink to get to it. And that's every couple showers. So we found just using a strainer, this is just a typical strainer from any home store, putting that over the drain at least reduces that quite a bit, so that we'd have those cleanings to be more in the 6 to 8 shower range. So at least we're reducing the number of things. Now the door, let me close it. It's really beautiful. Very functional, gives you the privacy that you want when you're in the bathroom. However, it is ridiculously not well built. It comes off the track fairly easily. Each of these are individual slats held on at the top of the track, and they just fall off all the time, and the door gets stuck. We currently have to replace tape up here about every 2 or 3 months just to keep them up and have the door slide at least reasonably well. We be very careful and gentle with it. We try to always be gentle and careful, and we don't close it as often as we would like to, because we don't want to reduce or increase the number of times we have to replace that tape.
Now, another thing about the Travato is this control panel complex here. Now, they put in a control panel that they call One Place. You'd think this would be the one place to control everything in your Travato, but then you've got this big, giant, ugly thing that just tells you your solar panels are working. There's no reason that you actually need to have something like this out here. You've got a whole other control panel for the Truma heater and furnace, which at least is an attractive control panel. And then you've got a One Place, a power control thing here that lets you choose between 20 amp or 30 amp shore power, which misses the one that you'd most obviously need, is being able to select 15 amp if you're plugging into somebody's side of a garage or side of a house. So the most useful setting that you'd want, well, the electrical system here doesn't support because it's not actually very all that advanced. And then the thing that you most really want to know is, what are your tank levels and stuff? Well, the electrical tank is the most important. There is no real battery monitor. So we're so spoiled with our electrical systems. The first thing we always do is put in a real battery monitor, like a Victron BMV, that tells you a percentage of how much battery you have left. Nothing like that here. This just gives you a voltage readout. And then it also gives you tank levels, which are okay for the fresh and gray and black, but the propane tank sensor here basically goes, when it's reading empty, you're still about a third or a half tank of propane. So people actually report that they actually crawl underneath their Travatos to see the actual gauge on the tiny little propane tank underneath, because you have really no idea the state of your propane tank the way this is designed. Now, this has got to be one of the biggest what were they thinking design flaws with the Travato, is this little switch right here, right where you stack shoes or where you kick while you come in, is what cuts off all the DC power. It's basically the battery disconnect switch. And it is so easy to accidentally hit. Completely the worst place for such a critical switch that you really never want to hit other than when you're putting your van in storage. Horrible design to put that there. Also pretty bad is behind this vinyl panel here are all the AC breakers, and the vinyl panel hides the breakers, but it doesn't protect them from being bumped. So anything here where a knee can be or where stuff gets knocked into can accidentally flip one of the breakers, and you'll find that a circuit is disabled. If you're going to cover it with something hard that keeps the breakers from being hit, not just a piece of vinyl. And then the one thing that is not down here on the floor where you want it is there is no AC outlets down underneath where you'd actually want to plug in a computer or anything else. They could have put an AC outlet down in the cabinet here rather than have to plug things in and have cables dangling from the upper cabinets. Why not put the outlets down below? So another thing about the Travato, and this actually impacts most van conversions out there, is that the generators are awful. They're super loud, and they're an old design, carburetor required design, that if you don't run them once a month, they get gummed up and they stop working. So when we bought our Travato, it only had 3 hours on the generator. You think, great, it's barely been used. No, this kind of generator, if you haven't used it, if you even go just a few months without using it, you risk a $1,700 repair. So we're like, we don't like the generator, we hate the noise it makes, and it doesn't work now because it was never run by the prior owner. Do we want to actually spend $1,700 to make a generator we hate work well? Now, theoretically, there's new generators designs coming to the RV industry intended for Class B vans that get rid of the carburetor or fuel injected, might have less need for this constant maintenance like that or constant wasted runtime. Maybe in the future years Winnebago will have that, but we'd much rather just ditch the generator entirely and have a lithium system with an alternator powered electrical charging. Next up is the TV. This is another one of those boneheaded, did they even think? The original design mount for how the TV installs in the Travato kind of sits in a flap up here in the worst possible place where you have no good spot to view and watch it. And one of the best upgrades we did, and we have no idea why Winnebago doesn't do this by default, is put in a swing arm so you can position the TV. Well, here you can position it so you can actually watch from bed. Over here, like that. Or you can bring it down and position it to watch from outside, different places to watch from up front using the nice reclining, or even bring it down and use it as a monitor on the desk. So a simple, cheap little monitor swing arm mounted here increases the functionality of how you use the TV about 10,000% over the default little no control swing.
Okay, some other little nitpicky interior things. Now, this one's kind of indoor-outdoor. And that's this screen door. It looks nice when it's pulled open, but it is, number one, difficult to pull open. Even if you've got it well lubed, you've got to be very, very gentle with it, pulling it out, or else you knock it right off the track, and then it's quite difficult to get back in. And you'd have to put it back in if you want to close the sliding door. Now, once it's open, it actually doesn't give you a lot of screen protection. It's not attached anyway at the top or the bottom, so stuff can get in. But more importantly, little critters can get out, like our little Kiki. She is a master. She knows immediately when that screen is out, she can escape. And it just seems like Winnebago just didn't have pets in mind when they designed this. Now, there's, on the newer Travatos, an option for a different style screen that is supposed to be better, so hopefully that resolves some of that issue. Now, next, the passenger seat. You see, it comes out at a nice angle, but there's no way to get that seat any further straight, facing back, which if you could, this would make a fabulous ottoman, and you could like lounge better there. Nope, that's as far as you can get, which is actually a little bit of an awkward position. I like to put my feet up. I don't like sitting with my feet on the ground. So it is a little bit awkward, and it's just a little too far away for my feet to reach the actual couch thingy over here. But more annoying, this is a great layout. We love the layout of this front area. But one issue that we found, especially during these COVID times, is we've been enjoying taking the van further out to a restaurant and getting takeout and eating it still fresh in the van. So we don't have the generator working, so we can't run the air conditioner in a parking lot right now. And if we could, it would be like ridiculously loud and not really appropriate for a shopping mall parking lot because you have the generator going and the loud AC. So I just can't ethically do that. So we thought, great idea. We'll just keep the dash air going. That's what we're eating anyway. Well, guess what? You can't have the engine on at all and have the seats retracted. Now, I understand that from Dodge's perspective. You shouldn't be driving with the seats turned around. But I'm not driving. I'm just running the freaking air conditioner so I can eat lunch in a little relative coolness. Instead, it just beeps incessantly like the whole van's about to blow up. Not a fun feature, not a stress-free way to eat lunch on a hot afternoon. So that's another area where lithium-powered air conditioning would be pretty super. Now, the other one, this is kind of standard for a lot of the RV industry when you get into this is kind of a mid-level coach. It is not considered a high-end one by any stretch of the imagination. You know that when you go in with a Winnebago, mid-level. But all of this is just stick-on. It's just veneer. And there was a warning sign here of whatever. I think it was about don't put stuff by the lights or something. We tried to peel it off. Well, that's not the sticker left. That's the actual veneer that pulled off. And as you can see over here, some of these veneer stickers are, we've got a few of those around. And it's just tacky. I mean, it takes it from being a nice mid-level coach to looking like a cheap low-end coach. And, you know, I think that could be better. So what did you think of the camping trip?
Now, some of the things we consider design flaws on the outside of the Travato. And I want to start with these big holes they intentionally cut into the side of the van to put really cheap, crappy speakers in. So not only is the outside speaker something that hardly anybody ever uses, and you could do much better with small portable speakers, they put in such bad speakers up here that they decay in the sun and turn into basically holes in the side of the van. These speakers are, the van's not that old and are basically just rotted away and need to be replaced. I'd rather just there be no holes there to begin with. That's not smart design. And down here, some of the other holes they cut in the side of the van. Well, for one, like, vans want to be kind of stealthy. You don't want to have a big blue sticker saying "black waste flush." Make that a little bit more stealthy, please. And then things like this outside solar fitting hookup, they could have spent another nickel on better screws because these are rusting after only a few years. So again, and the cover has fallen off, the caulk is going away. Stuff that they can do better with slightly higher quality components. And now we hear they've actually, on some of the newer Winnebago RVs, they've moved this solar hookup indoors behind the back door, which is, I guess, would keep it from rusting on the outside, but that means you can't have your solar panels, external panels, hooked up in the rain or when you want air conditioning or if you've got pets. So that seems like not a smart solution to fixing this. So hopefully they think this through and keep the part, do better. And then one other design flaw in how this is put together here with the black tank or the tank drain is this comes out completely flat. It doesn't have even the slightest angle to it, which means when you're draining your tank, you've got minutes worth of just dribbling because there's no flow for the last of the water to come out. So you've got to sit here and hold it and hold it and hold it, and even then you're still going to dribble some on the ground. If they just put a slight 2-degree angle on this, dumping would be so much more pleasant.
It sounds like we're a bunch of whiny-ass complainers.
We got all these things we don't like about the Travato, design flaws. There's things we would do better if we were designing it from scratch ourselves. That is for sure.
And we could definitely go and do a custom-made one to our specs, spend a heck of a lot more money on it. That is an option. A lot of people go that way. Yeah. But really, all in all, it doesn't sound like it from this video, but we love this van.
We love the size and the layout and the features, and so much about the Travato G is just exactly what we would want in a van. We just wish it was built a little bit better and a few things were tweaked.
But for the purposes of what we purchased it for, the shuttlecraft between the bus and the boat, and for little trips here during COVID Palooza, this has been so perfect. I feel so blessed that we have it because we're able to do little side trips to Florida state parks within an hour or two of the marina and get away, mix it up, keep it interesting. And we have a safe vehicle to travel in if we want to go visit somewhere further afield. We have our own bathroom, we have our kitchen, we don't have to depend on public facilities. So it's been awesome. This has exceeded our expectations, so much so that earlier this summer we decided
the one thing we really wish this one had was lithium, and there's the Travato GL line came out, and we're like, rather than try and do a big retrofit project to do our own lithium upgrade on ours, let's just get the GL because that's the kind of lithium system we would design.
Sounds great. We got cash in hand ready to go. Except for, you know what? There's this whole RV craziness going on. You can't find one. We have been looking for one for months, anywhere within 1,000, 1,500 miles of us that we could go pick up at a dealer brand new that was even reasonably within our spec.
And was in certain colors we won't
we
take.
want it. We love the granite color of this
Yes.
one. That would be our preference, to stay with the granite. We love the lighter interior color, and we want the dual pane windows. That's another upgrade that they've come out with that helps with ventilation and sound.
Yes.
And you can also leave them open in the rain.
Yes. So we dislike our Travato so much that we want to get a new one, a brand new one, or very lightly used, a 2020.5 or better GL. And wait to get one is until March if we order today.
Yeah, if we order one now, they're looking at March delivery. And I'm a more of an instant gratification girl. I don't want to wait that long.
Or maybe we'll end up waiting.
So anyway, so we are probably going to go ahead and put in an order that, making sure that it can be canceled, because in the meantime, if you or anyone you know is getting ready to sell maybe a newer GL that you just decided isn't meeting your needs as you went into this crazy world, keep us in mind. Let us know. We would love to make a private party arrangement as well.
Yes, and hope Winnebago's listening and fixes some of those other issues that are still going to be present in that GL when we finally get one. Turn on the air conditioning. It's hot in here.
We create these videos just for fun, and we love having you along for the ride. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, or if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.